Look around you. I don't care if your head's buried in a screen or you're living life like it's business as usual. Something is happening. You can feel it. The tension in the world, the pressure in the atmosphere, the shaking on every level, spiritual, political, emotional. Israel, Iran, nations locked in a spiritual battlefield that was spoken about thousands of years ago. And yet here we are, acting surprised. You think this is random. You think chaos just stumbles into the world on accident? No, this was written. This was prophesied in the ancient scriptures. Ezekiel saw it. He said the day would come when nations would rise up, align against the people of God. And the world would sit on the edge of something massive. And right now, you're watching it unfold. But this ain't about headlines. This ain't about politics. This is about awakening. Because while missiles fly, while tensions rise, while nations posture for war, God is speaking. He's calling out, wake up, get ready. The time is now. You see, too many of us are sleeping. Yeah, you heard me. We're sleeping while destiny knocks. We scroll while prophecy burns. We entertain ourselves to death while eternity is unfolding right in front of our eyes. Israel isn't just a country. It's a timeline. It's a warning. It's a sign. And every time rockets launch, every time threats are made, heaven is trying to get your attention. Iran isn't just an enemy of Israel. It's symbolic of everything that's rising against righteousness, of every spirit that wants to dominate, control, and destroy what is good, what is holy, what is true. But here's the thing. I'm not afraid. And you shouldn't be either. Because Ezekiel didn't just see war, didn't just see nations coming together to destroy. He saw God's hand. He saw divine power interrupting human pride. He saw a day when people would know beyond a shadow of a doubt, God is still God. So why am I fired up? Because this isn't just about them. It's about you. The war out there is a mirror of the war inside you. There's a battle for your mind, a battle for your focus, a battle for your time, your energy, your purpose. And just like those nations, you've got to decide which side are you on. You see, prophecy isn't just prediction. It's invitation. It's God saying, I've already seen what's coming. Now, what are you going to do about it? You're sitting on potential. You're sitting on purpose. And you're treating your life like it's optional, but it's not. Your calling is urgent. Your obedience is time sensory. The clock is ticking. Look, when Ezekiel spoke, the people didn't listen. They thought they had time. They thought it was just noise, just conspiracy, just another crazy voice yelling from the hills. But later they realized he was right. Too late. I don't want you to realize your purpose when it's too late. I don't want you to wake up after the explosion and wish you paid attention before it happened. This is your moment. You're not here by accident. You're not hearing this by coincidence. There's a war going on out there, but there's also a war in here, in your spirit. So stop sleeping. Stop wasting time. Stop pretending this is normal. It's not normal. It's historic. It's prophetic. It's holy. You were born for now. You were crafted for crisis. You were shaped for war, not with weapons in your hands, but with fire in your soul, with vision in your eyes, with discipline in your heart. You're not here to just survive. You're here to bring light into the darkest moments of history. And let me tell you, darkness is rising, but so is purpose. So is courage. So is truth. And you have to choose what you rise with. You don't need to watch the news to feel what's happening. You can feel it. It's in your chest. It's in the atmosphere. It's a spiritual earthquake, shaking everything fake, exposing everything weak, and calling out everything real. God is separating the watchers from the warriors. And you've got to decide, are you going to sit back and watch prophecy unfold like a movie? Or are you going to get in position, pray with power, live with focus, walk in obedience, and fight like your soul depends on it? Because it does. Ezekiel didn't say maybe, he didn't say if, he said when. That means this was always going to happen. That means God is still in control even when the world looks out of control. So here's your choice: panic or purpose, confusion or clarity, fear or fire. Because you weren't born to break, you were born to build, born to lead, born to rise when others run, born to hear the sound of war and move toward the battlefield. I don't care how dark it gets, light wins. I don't care how loud the threats get, truth wins. I don't care how real the pain is, God's promise is even realer. So get ready, get serious, get low in prayer and high in purpose. Because this is not the end, it's the beginning of something eternal, a shaking, a shifting, a separating. And you better be on the right side of history. Not just global history, eternal history. This is your wake-up call. Don't sleep through it. Prophecy is not prediction, it's preparation. Most people hear prophecy and think it's some mysterious code, some spiritual guessing game about the future. But real prophecy isn't designed to entertain your curiosity. It's designed to awaken your urgency. It's not about knowing dates and headlines. It's about recognizing that every word spoken carries weight and responsibility. When a prophetic word comes, it's not just for you to say, wow, it's for you to move. It's God giving you a warning, a strategy, a glimpse of what's to come so that you can get ready, get right, and get moving. Too many people hear about Israel, hear about Iran, hear about ancient texts like Ezekiel, and they treat it like trivial, like background noise in a world full of distractions. But prophecy was never background. Prophecy has always been front line. It's the word of God echoing across generations saying, prepare the way, make straight the path, get your house in order, because what I said will come to pass. The reason most people miss the moment is because they treat prophecy like prediction. They want to sit back and wait like it's a movie they just watched play out. But prophecy doesn't ask you to sit. It demands that you stand. It demands that you build, that you guard, that you shift your lifestyle, because what was spoken is already in motion. Preparation is the proof that you believe what was prophesied. If you really believe something is coming, you don't keep living like it's business as usual. You shift your priorities. You silence the noise. You stretch your faith. You start doing in the dark what you'll need when the light exposes the truth. When the prophets spoke, they weren't trying to impress. They were trying to interrupt. They were trying to break through the sleep, the numbness, the distractions of a culture that had gotten comfortable. And every time they spoke, those who took them seriously didn't panic. They prepared. They built arks. They stored oil. They repented. They moved. They positioned themselves not just to survive the moment, but to thrive in it. Prophecy is God's mercy in motion. It's him saying, I don't want you caught off guard. I don't want you destroyed by what you didn't prepare for. So I'm speaking before it happens. But here's the hard part. Preparation doesn't feel urgent until the moment comes. Building an ark looks crazy until it starts raining. Storing oil feels unnecessary until the bridegroom arrives. People will always laugh at preparation when they don't believe the prophecy. And that's why it's not about what people say, it's about what God said. And if God spoke it, then your only job is to align with it, adjust to it, act on it. Prophecy separates the passive from the purposeful. It exposes who's playing church and who's actually listening. It reveals who's waiting for signs and who's already walking by faith. It calls you out of laziness and into legacy. It breaks your comfort to activate your calling. Preparation is how you fight before the war even starts. It's how you win battles that haven't even shown up yet. It's how you carry peace in the middle of global chaos. It's how you build something that doesn't shake when the rest of the world crumbles. Prophecy isn't just about the nations. It's about your name, your choices, your actions. It's God showing you the map before the fire breaks out so you don't get lost when it does. It's the mercy of forewarning so you don't live in the tragedy of being too late. And if you don't prepare, you prove you never believe. You weren't born for peace. You were built for the storm. That means your DNA was designed to endure. Your spirit was crafted to rise. Your mind was wired to overcome. You weren't created to live soft, fragile, or fearful. You were created to be a warrior in a world full of shaking. While everybody else is running from the noise, you're supposed to walk through it with boldness. You're supposed to carry something different, something unshakable. Storms don't mean you're off course. Storms confirm that your presence carries power. They reveal what's inside of you. Pressure doesn't break you. It introduces you to your potential. You don't grow in ease, you grow in heat. You grow when everything around you says quit, but something in you refuses to bend. You grow when the headlines scream panic and you stay grounded. The storm isn't your punishment, it's your platform. It's your stage to show the world what faith looks like under fire. Everybody wants peace, but peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of purpose in the middle of conflict. Real peace is knowing who you are when the storm hits. It's standing in the battlefield and remembering that your weapons are not carnal, but mighty. You were never called to blend in with pain. You were called to be the calm inside the chaos. You were not made to break when the world gets loud. You were made to speak louder with your actions. Louder with your vision, louder with your faith. You weren't built to fold under pressure. You were built to walk on water when the waves rise. You weren't made to survive storms. You were made to silence them. You were made to speak to them. The reason it feels hard is because the assignment is heavy, and only the strong were chosen for this season. There's a reason you're alive right now. There's a reason you weren't born in another generation, because the storm of this season needs your voice, your fire, your authority. When the world is looking for answers, they're not looking for echoes. They're looking for a sound that breaks the silence. You are that sound. You are that fire. You are the one who doesn't run from the lightning. You rise with it. You walk into storms with eyes open, heart steady, faith unshaken. You don't ask for the storm to stop. You ask for strength to keep walking through it. Because storms don't last, but warriors do. Warriors are made in dark places. Strength is forged in the weight of uncertainty. Every challenge is training. Every setback is sharpening. Every delay is development. And every time you get back up, you prove that the storm was never in control. You were. The enemy doesn't fear people who live in peace. He fears people who know who they are in storms. People who don't get distracted by wind and waves because they're locked into their mission. When the storm hits, the world doesn't need more people screaming. It needs people standing. People grounded in something eternal. People who've been through fires and didn't come out smelling like smoke. You weren't born to escape. You were born to engage. You weren't built for comfort. You were built for collision. Collision with fear, collision with darkness, collision with everything that stands against what is right. Storms don't scare people who understand their purpose. The rain doesn't bother those who were built for flood levels. The shaking doesn't move those who are rooted in something unbreakable. You're not here to pray storms away. You're here to thrive in them, to shine in them, to speak in them. You're the proof that storms don't win when purpose walks in. Every conflict on the outside reveals a calling on the inside. What you see in the world isn't just about governments or armies or politics. It's a mirror. a reflection of something spiritual that's already happening within you. The tension you feel in your soul, the battles you face in silence, the pressure that won't let up, it's all connected. External chaos is often confirmation that something internal is being called to rise. When there's conflict in the nations, it means there's calling in the people. When Israel faces attack, when Iran postures for war, when the Middle East trembles, it's not just a sign of war, it's a signal to wake up, come up within, to listen deeply. Because conflict doesn't just reveal who the enemy is, it reveals who you are. What's rising against you is proof of what's inside of you. You don't get resistance unless there's something worth resisting. You don't face pressure unless you carry power. And the louder the battle gets on the outside, the clearer the voice of purpose speaks on the inside. Every war, every shaking, every storm that breaks out in the world is connected to the war for your mind, your focus, your destiny. You weren't called to just watch the news. You were called to respond to what's happening spiritually. Conflict is heaven's way of putting a demand on your potential. It's God saying, there's something I placed in you that now needs to be activated. You can't stay casual in a world that's collapsing. You can't stay comfortable when everything around you is in confrontation. You've been too quiet about the calling that's inside of you. But conflict comes to wake that up. It comes to show you that you've got oil you haven't used, faith you haven't exercised, authority you haven't walked in. Conflict doesn't just disturb your peace, it reveals where your peace was fake. It shows you what was surface level and what's been built deep. It calls out your priorities, your habits, your convictions. It forces you to decide what side you're really on. Because when the world shakes, only what's real remains. And that's why you can't run from conflict. You've got to face it. You've got to let it teach you what you're carrying. Let it remind you that you're not just surviving, you're being summoned. That resistance you feel when you try to move forward, that opposition you face when you try to walk in purpose, that's not just life being hard, that's purpose being challenged. That's heaven allowing tension so you can finally tap into the identity you've been avoiding. Too many people want peace without purpose. They want ease without endurance. But the call on your life isn't soft. It's not quiet. It's not hidden. It's loud. It's fire. It's thunder. And every time the world starts trembling, every time the news gets darker, that's your signal to stop shrinking. That's your invitation to rise. The war outside isn't just physical, it's spiritual. And your assignment isn't to echo fear, it's to carry fire. Your role isn't to analyze the storm, it's to anchor in truth. And you can't do that pretending you're not called. You can't ignore the voice inside of you just because the noise outside is loud. In fact, the louder the world gets, the clearer you should become. Conflict clarifies calling. It filters out the fluff. It breaks off the excuses. It forces decisions. You either step up or you step out. You either fight with purpose or fade with fear. And the greatest battles in history didn't just define nations, they defined people. Conflict shaped leaders. It birthed movements. It separated those who were ready from those who were just watching. Don't just watch history. Walk in your destiny. It's easy to be a spectator, to sit back and observe, to analyze events from a distance like they have nothing to do with you. But you weren't put on this earth to be a watcher. You weren't born to sit in the stands while the world turns and the pages of history unfold. You were created with purpose, born with intention, wired for impact. While others are reading headlines, you should be making moves. While the world debates prophecy, you should be fulfilling purpose. Every day you wake up is another opportunity to take your place in the story. Not as a background character, not as a silent witness, but as a bold voice, a willing vessel, a chosen warrior for this moment in time. You weren't meant to be impressed by history, you were meant to make it. You weren't called to study prophecy like a textbook. You were called to become part of what God is doing on the earth. You have gifts that weren't meant to collect dust. You have vision that wasn't meant to be kept small. You have fire that wasn't meant to flicker out while you scroll through life pretending you don't hear the call. The shaking in the nations isn't just a sign of the times. It's a summons for the chosen. You don't need permission from man when you've already been appointed by God. You don't need validation from the crowd when heaven has already marked you. This is the hour when playing small is no longer an option. Watching from the sidelines is no longer acceptable. If you can see what's happening, if you can discern what time it is, if you can feel that urgency in your soul, then you are responsible to act. Walking history is safe. Walking in destiny is costly. It requires risk. It requires sacrifice. It requires obedience, even when it doesn't make sense. But it also carries power. It carries legacy. It carries eternity. When you walk in your destiny, you stop being moved by fear. You stop being paralyzed by what ifs. You stop wondering if you're enough, because you realize it was never about you being enough. It was about you being willing. The people who change history are the ones who don't wait to feel ready. They don't wait till it's popular or easy or understood. They move when the call comes. They speak when truth is needed. They act when most stay silent. Destiny isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet decision to say yes when everything in you wants to say no. Sometimes it's waking up and choosing purpose over comfort. Sometimes it's being faithful in the small things so that God can trust you with more. History isn't shaped by those who watched the fire burn. It's shaped by those who carried it, those who fanned the flames in a dark generation, those who stood when everything said sit down. You've got a part in this, a role to play, a voice to use, a mission to fulfill. You weren't left out of this moment. You were placed in it. You weren't overlooked. You were assigned. Stop waiting for someone else to make the move that you were born to make. Stop expecting others to bring the change that you were meant to carry. Your life is a piece of prophecy in motion. Your obedience is part of the fulfillment. Every step you take in purpose is a step toward the promise. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to move when the Spirit says move. Watching history might give you knowledge, but walking in destiny gives you authority. This war isn't about fear. It's about fire and faith. It's not about hiding, panicking, or giving in to the pressure of what the world is doing. It's about rising up with something burning inside that refuses to bow to the chaos. Fear is loud, but fire is louder. Fear wants to paralyze you, but fire pushes you forward. Fear says sit down, but faith says stand up. Faith isn't silent in seasons like this. It's louder than ever. When the noise of war surrounds you, when nations rage and threats increase, the people of fire don't retreat. They step into the moment with clarity, with confidence, with the boldness that doesn't come from themselves, but from the one who called them. The war on the outside is real, but the war on the inside is even more critical. It's the battle between fear that limits and faith that leads, between hesitation and obedience, between shrinking back and stepping forward. This isn't the time to look around and wonder what others are going to do. This is the time to look within and ask, what kind of fire is burning in your spirit? The kind of fire that doesn't fizzle when things get tough. The kind of fire that isn't based on feelings, but built on truth. The kind of fire that sees what's coming and refuses to run. You don't need to fear what's happening in the nations when you understand who's behind the assignment on your life. Fire doesn't wait for comfort. It thrives in challenge. Faith doesn't work when everything is clear. It shines when nothing makes sense and you still move. That's the kind of faith needed in this hour. Not shallow, surface level faith that only works in peace, but storm tested, war proven, deep rooted faith that moves mountains, that speaks life, that pushes past fear and chooses courage. The fire isn't optional, it's essential. If you don't carry it, you'll fall under the weight of fear. If you don't guard it, you'll lose it to the noise. If you don't feed it, it'll burn out. And right now, more than ever, the world doesn't need more fear. It doesn't need more echo chambers of panic. It needs fire. It needs men and women so consumed with purpose, so grounded in faith that nothing shakes them. The ones who have been through their own personal wars and now stand with authority to speak peace in the middle of global ones. The ones who don't flinch when they hear rumors of war because they know the God of the promise. This is not the time to fear headlines. This is the time to fan the flames, to stir up what's been placed inside you, to remember who you are and why you're here. You weren't placed in this season to be another voice of doubt. You were born to be a voice of faith. You don't have time to be lukewarm. You don't have space to be half awake. Either your fire is real or your fear will run your life. Either your faith is alive or the noise will dictate your choices. This war will not be won by flesh. It will be won by fire, by those who carry a presence stronger than politics, a power greater than conflict, a clarity that cuts through confusion. Your job isn't to get overwhelmed by the war. It's to overflow with the kind of fire that was meant for it. To walk into moments others avoid and bring the heat of heaven with you. To look fear in the face and move anyway. To walk into spiritual battles already knowing the victory was never in question. To be so rooted in faith that nothing outside of you can shake what's burning within you.